I was recently talking with one of my patients about her sense of worth, and she was having a really hard time feeling quite unworthy in her life. And as I was watching this woman speak of herself, I was thinking, my goodness, this was the exact opposite impression that I have of her. I've known her for years, and she was never one that I thought would be embodying such a deep sense of unworthiness. And so it started me thinking about my own sense of unworthiness. And I decided that I would create a video about where does this come from? What is the actual energetic root cause of unworthiness and the sense that so many of us on the planet are holding within our hearts and in our bodies? My intention is that by illuminating the root causes of your unworthiness, that you can first identify that this is just really an illusion of separation, as we'll go into in this video. And I also want to offer you some actionable tips on how you can begin to work with this sense of unworthiness today. I'm Dr. Dispel, founder of Energetic Osteopathy, and I've been offering teachings and treatments using the energetic system within the human body to transform you from the inside out, putting the healing back into your hands. So let's get into this video where I dispel this huge myth of unworthiness and explain why you might be feeling unworthy in your own lives. And I want to start off with a personal example from my own life. In 2012, I opened my own osteopathic medical practice where I was working as a solo physician, and I built my practice from the ground level up. I had no patients when I opened the doors of my practice, and within 1 year, I had a full panel of patients with a long waiting list of people who wanted to come in and work with me and see me. And I had been holding a secret within myself, which was I didn't know why they were coming to see me because I didn't really feel that I had anything to offer them. There's a condition that some of you may have heard of, and that's called Imposter Syndrome. And that's really the root cause of Imposter Syndrome, is this source level wound of unworthiness. So I had all these patients that were coming to my practice, and they were each showering me with wonderful compliments, saying things like, I feel so amazing when I leave your room. When I get on your table, I feel one way, and then I leave your table and I feel like a completely different person. You are so gifted. You are so talented. And I've never had a large ego when it comes to my work. In fact, I've had the opposite. I've had a huge wound, which has been blocking me from being able to really step into the fullness of these divine gifts that I've actually been handed here to offer all of you. So this is something that I've worked on extensively in my own life. And what is this? Where does it come from? And when does it even begin? Let's go all the way back in time to when you were a very young child, because that's really where it begins. We all come in as extensions of source energy. In fact, we are source energy. It's what breathes us. It's what we are made up of entirely. And as we come onto this human plane here, we have conditioning. And we come into families where we hear things very early in our lives that maybe these things that we hear are, bad girl or bad boy, or, you aren't supposed to do that because you're a bad person. Right? It's not the fault of our upbringing. This is just the generational wound that we've carried with us forever. But before we have the chance to develop our systems to discern whether this is the truth or not, we actually begin to pinch ourselves off from the truth of our source as we receive more of this information from the outside world. We get into school and maybe we do really poorly on an exam, and we start to feel that we're not smart. We start to get ridiculed and bullied by our peers. We get cut from our sports teams. We continue to fall short, not knowing that we are actually being built stronger in learning how not to achieve the upper echelon of success in every endeavor that we embark upon. But so because we have these core wounds which have started to come into our energetic system, this sense of not feeling like a good girl or you are a bad person is actually dense energy that comes in. And where does it land? Right down at the very base of your spine, where there's an energetic center called the root center. And that center is the one that takes in all the information from your outer world from the time of conception until you're up into the 7 or 8-year-old range. And so as you move through your early years, your body's just taking in information and it's attempting to categorize it. And that which is resisted by your body, meaning if you hear something that just kind of unsettles you, it gets stored inside your body as a dense pocket of energy, and it stores way down at that root. What happens as a result of that is you start to pinch off this beautiful divine connection that comes right up through that root and into the rest of your body on the energetic level. And it actually creates this real illusion. This is what some of you may have heard of as the illusion of separation. And this illusion of separation is nothing more than you having dense energy in your energetic system that's pinching you off from this free-flowing source love that is always with you. It's just that you can't feel it because you have unhealed wounds. So after a while, the accumulation of dense energies in your body begin to impact you and how you perceive the outer world. And over time, this accumulation leads you to thinking these things of, I am not a good person, I am not a worthy person, I haven't done well in my life because I actually don't deserve to, because now I have this sense of inherent lack of self-worth. This later leads to loneliness, isolation, and further separation. Down the road, it can lead to stagnant energies within different parts of your energetic system, leading to a culmination of emotional and physical dis-ease and degradation or degeneration. So this really is what begins this whole cascade of you being separate, not loving yourself, and therefore resulting in this intense lack of self-worth and actually self-love. So what do we do about this? Because if this is you, if I'm describing you as I was describing myself, how did I get to be a physician that was, operating from this sense of I'm an imposter and they're going to find out? And what I realized is that what was keeping me from being able to see me as they saw me, as my patients saw me, all those patients who said, you're magnificent and you're gifted and I'm going to now call you Dr. Magic Hands, or, I received so many wonderful points of praise over my years, but I couldn't feel it because I couldn't even feel myself, because I had unhealed wounds that was keeping me from really truly knowing the full extent of my own gifts, of my own essence, which is I am as you are, pure divine source energy. We just get dense energies in our system that keeps us from knowing this truth. So let's get into what do we even do about this? How do we begin to work on this? Because there's so much that I can share with you about how you can reestablish this connection so that you know the truth of who you really are. You being one with the universe. You are love. You embody love. So I wanted to share with you 4 really helpful tips that you can begin to work with so you can begin to uncover the truth of who you really are and what you're really made up of. So the first tip is that it's really important to establish the connection between you and source energy. I've shared with you a lot about how these densities come in. These are energetic events that we take in from our outer life when we're really young. We don't process these events. We just store them because we're too young. We don't really, these are traumas, these are aggressive words, these are abrasive words, and these are actually energetic broadcasts, because everything that we receive, everything that we perceive, everything that we are, and everything that we are experiencing in the outer world really boils down to energetic frequencies. So if your body perceives a frequency from the outer world as being a threat, it won't be able to process it all right away. So it just tucks it down, tucks it into a part of your subconscious mind or subconscious body. More likely it's in your body, way down at that root energetic center. for later processing. So we have to have you go back in and access it. So let's do that. So what do? How do we even do that? So we have to reconnect your roots to the earth. And this is one of the most foundational practices that I teach my patients, my clients, and that I offer myself every single morning. As soon as you wake up from sleep, the very first thing that I cannot express how important it is to, before you go into your day, before you start zooming a million miles a minute, which we just naturally tend to do in the outer world, establish your connection to source energy, to Mother Earth. That's what I'm talking about here. So what it looks like for me is sit down on a meditation cushion or sit in a comfortable chair, but sit down, get out of bed, and let yourself align vertically with the earth. This will open up a channel of energy that runs all the way up from the earth through your entire body, through the top of your head, and all the way up into the sky. There are so many stop points along the way. There are energetic centers. There's at least 7 energetic centers that line your whole spinal column, just at the point of this where they connect into this energetic column of light, of energy that runs through your body. And that very, very first center that lives just above your pelvic bowl or in the pelvic diaphragm region, which is way down, as far down as you can get. You're literally sitting on it when you sit on the earth, which is why I really think this is an important practice for you to do while seated. And first, just connect in with your breathing, because the breath is you bringing your mind into the present moment. This isn't meditation. This is an actual embodiment practice, meaning you're literally moving energy in your body by witnessing your breath, connecting to your breath, and then taking your mind's attention and going all the way down to the base of your spine, right at the point of where your inner body meets the outer world. That's where that energetic center lives. And just imagine yourself breathing into the very, very pinpoint center of that energetic center and get it open, breathe it open. And then when you exhale, you're going to just breathe the energy down into the earth to feel anything that you might possibly feel in the earth. What this will do is it will reestablish your connection to source. And the more that you can do this throughout your days, the more you'll remember that you can actually start to move energy through your system in ways that we all have to do. What happens to us is that we get pinched off from source because we forget how powerful we are at being able to open this connection. So as we go about our lives, as we go about our days, we accumulate dense energies and we get further and further and further disconnected because we're just holding all this dense energy in our bodies. So it's a powerful, it doesn't take very long, but it does take a lot of practice, meaning daily practice. If you can do this every day, you will start to notice some changes in how you feel. You'll feel more grounded. You'll feel more even keeled. You'll feel more energized, literally, because you're actually going to be exchanging with these nourishing, healing energies of the earth. She is our mother. She is the most beautiful and potent source of healing energy in the entire universe. That's why we actually came here onto earth. We wanted to be on this particular planet because we knew of the potency that she possesses to heal us, to grow us, to restore us to wholeness and to openness. So this is just the most essential aspect of healing yourself, healing your wounds, and reestablishing your sense of self-worth, because literally what happens is you're so dense you don't even know who you are. So let's start to breathe into the base of your spine to open up that channel, and then as you start to feel your connection to earth reestablish, you will actually start to feel your connection to source, to that which breathes up into you, become reestablished, and that is pure love. So as that energy of love moves into your body, you will have no choice but to begin to feel more loving toward yourself. That's the magic of this work. This is energetic alchemy, transmuting energy from the inside of your body, and it's so powerful. You can't even possibly imagine it. You just have to do it. It's not something I can tell you to do. It's one of those things that you must embody. And if you do this and you practice this day in and day out without judgment, because the mind wants to get in there and say, how can this possibly work, right? That's not going to improve my self-worth. Well, you won't know until you try. So I encourage you all to please practice this, even if it's just for a couple minutes a day. It's so important that you learn to open up your channel to source energy, let it flow through you, and begin to release these dense energies in your root center that are keeping you from knowing the truth of who you really are and how worthy you are of love. Okay, the next one is mirror work. So this is tip number 2. This is so potent. Doing mirror work to reestablish a sense of self-worth is a powerful tool. And for those of you who have done mirror work, this is just a little bit different what I'm going to share with you. So mirror work is so important to actually set the stage before you do this kind of mirror work. So the very first thing is, this actually builds upon step number 1. So step number 1 is to open up your root center, which will start the flow of energy through your whole system and get those dense energies moving, because that's what we need to do to get you cleared out. The next step is to go up into your heart. So before you do this mirror work step, I really want you, maybe you do this right after you sit on your meditation cushion or in your chair, and before you go to the mirror, I want you then to take your attention and focus it right on your heart center. This is your center of love, of self-love. And now that you have your root center opened up because you've been breathing into it and watching that energy flow up from the earth, bring that energy all the way up into your heart and begin to watch it move into the very center of your heart and expand it, and feel yourself breathing into your very own heart center, activating the frequency of love. Just feeling into your heart, breathing into your heart will increase your frequency of love. Now, go to your bathroom mirror before you brush your hair, before you take a shower, before you brush your teeth, before you put on any makeup or any jewelry, and just acknowledge yourself in the mirror and stare directly into your eyes. And don't pay any attention to the physical body, because when we look at the physical body, all we see are imperfections. But when we stare directly into the seat of the soul, which is directly through your eyes, you will see yourself as perfect. You will see your soul, and it can be a very powerful experience. I do this regularly, and it brings me to tears almost every time, because it made me aware when I first started doing this of how many times I would look in the mirror. I wasn't looking at myself. I was only observing my flaws. I'm a perfectionist in recovery because I have this old wound of unworthiness. So I had this belief in my mind that if I looked perfect on the outside, if I had, perfect hair and perfect makeup and perfect jewelry and my body was perfect and I appeared to be perfect on the outside, somehow I would be more worthy of love, that I would get more attention, I would have more affection, that I would get more praise. And that's just not the truth, because it set me up, because we all have our physical appearance fade over time. So if you're fixated on your outer appearance, you are setting yourself up for self-sabotage and a lack of self-love. So the more you can start to see your soul through the exterior, through those outer layers that no matter what, every single day they're changing. Every single day they're going to be degrading, because we age. That's just, we come into physical form so that we can experience a soul in a body, and then the body goes away and the soul lives on. So the more you can become comfortable with looking into your eyes, gazing into your eyes and seeing your soul and saying to yourself, I am love. I am love. And let yourself just gaze without any judgment and without any expectation, but just feel yourself in this way. And it will begin to remodel you from the inside out. You will over time see yourself. You will learn to look at your perfectness and not at your flaws and imperfections, because you will see your soul. So the more you can connect into that soul energy, the more you're connecting into divine source energy. You're the same thing. Okay. And now the last tip that I want to offer you here is to go out into nature, immerse yourself in nature, and go and witness nature in its most perfect form. You can look at a tree and say, oh, this tree, it's so loved. Right? There's everywhere you look in nature, especially if you happen to be in the northern hemisphere of the world right now, we're just moving into spring, and it's this beautiful unveiling of all of these buds and all of these flowers, and the birds are starting to chirp, and the water is starting to run, and the grass is getting greener, and all around us we're watching nature in its most perfect form. And so as you go out into nature, observe it as if you're seeing it for the first time. Observe it in its perfection, and witness how loved every single part of nature is as one part of this integral whole, this whole ecosystem that you are an integral part of as well. And the more that you're connecting out into nature in this way and saying outwardly, oh, that tree, it's so loved. It's loved by the soil. It's loved by the breeze. It's loved by the air and by the sun and by the rain. Then over time, you might realize that you are no different than that tree. You are no different than that bird. We have a different consciousness, but we're all made of the same source energy. So as you witness the tree in its perfect form being so loved, then you can look at yourself and remember the truth that you too are so loved. And so this is really the work. We are all being forced to change and grow and expand and shift. This is such a massive ascension time on the planet. The energy on the planet is so vastly different than it's ever been before. The world that we're moving into is an unknown, and we are being called in to do healing work unlike ever before. And the real return to source is the call. We're being asked to return to nature. We're being asked to quiet down. We're being asked to love one another in much more expansive and greater ways. We're being called to love ourselves. This is about self-love and the return to the knowing of how amazing we are, how loved we are, how connected we are. And once we establish that connection to ourselves first, then we can love one another. Then we can affect change on this planet. But if we have no idea who we are, we become ping pong balls off of one another and all the events that are happening out there. So I love you all so much, and I encourage you to start to take time every single day to remember that truth. Because I am so genuine in sharing that with you. Whoever it is that's watching this video, my heart goes out to you all, sending you so much love. And if you like this video, please press the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I release weekly YouTube videos where I just touch upon some other way that you can begin to understand yourself as an energetic being. Because the more you understand yourself as an energetic being and holding those energies in your body, where energies get stuck, and then how you can start to move them through, you begin to heal yourself. You begin to reclaim the truth of your sovereignty. You are a self-healer. You are way more powerful than you've ever been led to believe. And it's my mission to have you remember the truth about yourself. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.